is it like just being in the Kenya Premier League?
But we need to think about disability sports like sport business, like every other sport business, you know.
Africa has produced some of the greatest athletes, sports people, yet we still remain underrepresented in disability.
Kenyan athletes have brought a lot of gold from the Paralympics.
Right.
It's not public knowledge. Unfortunately, people think you have your wheelchair, so you're good to go.
If you had the opportunity to change maybe one policy in the system that we have in Africa around disability sports, what would that be for you?
That our Sports Act in Kenya does not have anything explicit on disability sport.
Oh, it doesn't?
Unfortunately, people think accessibility is a ramp. Do I know how to dismantle a wheelchair if I have? Because it is a customer at the end of the day.
Disability can happen to you even now.
Never underestimate the power of a wheelchair in a room.
Because systems just tend to be slow. What keeps you going for this mission?
Unfortunately, wellness for persons with disability is still sitting within the hospital connotation. Marketing agency, if I want to work with a creator, maybe it should be are you trained in disability etiquette? Not trained as a physical education teacher, adaptive physical education should be part of teacher training colleges. Watch the Paralympics. Let's build that fan base.
Welcome to yet another episode of Be That Woman podcast. And guess what, guys? We are on episode 30, the big 3-0. And we started the time like this last year on 27th March. So this month, we are hitting our first year anniversary. Thank you so much, guys. Thank you to each and every one of you who has stood with us, who has listened to the podcast, subscribed, shared with a friend. You are the people who make this podcast grow, and we just hit 14,000 subscribers. So, asanteni sana, and we look forward to bringing you bigger and better conversations. So allow me to introduce you to our beautiful guest today. So before we get started, let me ask you a question. So did you know that 1 in 6 people in the world live with a disability? According to the WHO, that's an estimated 1.3 billion people. That is 16% of the global population experience a significant disability. And when was the last time you walked into a gym, a sports club, a paddle court, and just thought, this is normal? So for other people, it is not as easy as that. And that is why we are here today to demystify and talk about this. So join me in welcoming our one and only guest today, a Pan-African sports development specialist, founder of 54 Impact, an organization that is dedicated to transforming Africa's sport ecosystem through inclusion, policy reform, and social impact. Welcome to Be That Woman, Sheila Cleo Mugalo.
Thank you so much.
We are excited to have you, and you look fantastic today.
Thank you.
Yeah. And as you guys can see, also our set looks so beautiful. I'm proudly sponsored by Tusker Cider, a premium cider locally made in Kenya, the first in East Africa. And it is also fruity, crispy, flavorful. So grab it, sit back, and enjoy while you listen to this conversation. All right, I'll be your host, Joy Mido, and let's get started with the conversation. So, who is Sheila Cleo?
Sheila Cleo. I'd say I'm a sport development consultant and also a trained adaptive fitness trainer. I've worked in the sports space, I'd say, for the last decade. Also, more than a decade, to be honest. But I think I specialize more in sport development and sport for development.
I hear a lot of sports. So are you a sporty person?
Am I a sporty I played basketball. I did play basketball, high school, transitioned into the Kenya Premier League briefly, under Sprite Storms. But also, at the moment, I do a bit of dirt biking. Recreational. Please don't wait for me in any enduro challenge, but yeah.
I think you'll send us some photos. We need to see this.
Sure, but yes. But I've taken up dirt biking for a year now, I'd say, a little over a year, but just for fun, yeah.
What is dirt biking exactly? Like literally, is it biking in the mud?
Or what? Not necessarily. So you do, for motorbikes, you have road, you have adventure, you have your enduro and motocross biking challenges. So I'd say that biking falls more on the enduro motocross side of things. But I don't do it competitively. I think I need to insist on that, because if my coach is watching this, I'm sure he will question my speed to whether I confidently said I do that biking. But yes, so just motorbikes, off-road, enduro type thing.
Yeah. Oh, that is amazing. I also played basketball when I was in high school.
Okay.
And then I got an injury and I was like, where? My mother's only child. I am not doing this again. So I stopped it. But I really enjoyed basketball. How was your experience with basketball?
So getting into basketball was, you're tall, go to the basketball court type thing in high school.
Oh, by the way, she's tall.
So it's just 6 feet. But that's how I got into basketball, high school, and then transitioned into the league. My experience with basketball, mixed feelings. It was amazing, builds character, teamwork. Any sport is amazing if you ask me. And then there's just also the realization of our sport systems and the challenges of it. So mixed feelings, but great experience all the same, because it did open a lot of doors for me. I was scouted in high school, and that didn't work out because injury. And but all the same, it did open me up to a lot of opportunities, I'd say, at a very young age. So
Yeah. How is it like just being in the Kenya Premier League? Is it a lot of pressure? How is it? Like, what was your experience with it?
So here's the thing. I left high school. In high school, you're big dog in your little village, right?
Yeah.
So you're a thing.
Until you get there.
Until you step outside, and everyone who's in the league was something big in whatever school or community setup that they came from. So I think there wasn't a system to accommodate that transition. And when I say the Premier League, there was a bit of bench warming for the first few times that I stepped into that. But it's because everyone is as amazing, and it's not like high school where it's very participation level. So yeah, that transition was not that good. I guess you go there, Jogwa Shambani, you get to the big city.
Yeah.
Everyone's a big dog, so what's up?
You're trying, what's up?
Like, what's up,
Yeah.
You think you know game, and then you meet everyone knows game.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, but it was fun. I did make friends that are still friends till now, and got a bit of understanding of sports and the sport business. And so I'd say that was my beginning into the sports world.
The sports world.
Yeah.
All right. You've worked across different global sports institutions as well. So tell us your experience about that.
So maybe I should start by saying I don't have a sports background education-wise.
Oh, yes. What did you do?
International relations.
Wow.
USIU. And for my postgrad, it was development studies, PCR, poverty, conflict, and reconstruction. When I first stepped into the sporting world, it was more sports for development. And I worked with the UN Office on Sports for Development in Geneva. That was, I'd say, my first job straight out of postgrad. Started as an internship and became
Where did you do your postgrad?
I did my postgrad University of Manchester. So I was in the UK for the intention was to go study and come back, truly.
What happened?
I go for a conference there, meet this person there talking about sports for development. I've been big on the development work. Somewhere in my life, I thought I'd be a diplomat.
Yeah.
Life
with
happened.
the IR?
With the IR, we were so sure. A path was clear. But then, that didn't, I wouldn't say it didn't work out. I found a path that works for me, sports for development. But with time, ideally, sport for development is just using sports as a tool for all development agendas, whether it's conflict resolution, whether it's youth empowerment, poverty eradication. And I found myself in sports for inclusion, both gender and disability inclusion. And I enjoyed the aspect of disability sports to a degree. I then transitioned into the International Paralympic Committee, which is governing body for Paralympic Games in Bonn, Germany. Worked in head office for some time. And then 2020, in the wake of COVID, I thought, it's time now for me to step into something different. I still continue to work in the sports space, consulting for different entities. So I still consulted for International Paralympic Committee, Loughborough University London, Africa Union Sports Council Region 5, Badminton World Federation. So I worked with federations, governmental and intergovernmental entities within the sports sector, as well as organizations within the sports sector. So, yeah.
Wow, your resume is so impressive.
Well,
What?
it might be sounding like LinkedIn here.
It is like a whole LinkedIn page. They'll be looking. Congratulations, first of all.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Yeah, you have a wealth of experience, and I feel like you've used it so well in making a lot of impact, which we're going to dive into. But amazing work that you're doing, Sheila Cleo.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. So I want to ask you a question about Africa before we get to how your experience has been just working in these institutions. Yeah. Africa has produced some of the greatest athletes, sports people, yet we still remain underrepresented in disability sports. Why do you think that is? And is it the same in also like globally?
I'd say on a comparison basis of mainstream and disability sports, of course, it's a varying number. In Africa especially, we're the least represented even in the Paralympic Games of all continents.
Yeah.
And this is, I'd say there's not really much of an investment in disability sports that is significant. A lot of disability sport organizations benefit from international federations that manage them. There isn't really much of systems and pathways within Africa. And when I speak about systems and pathways, if you think about it, your first interaction with sport, aside playing, that was play, was probably school systems, right?
Right.
And
PE.
Before they decided to, it's double math and double biology.
And the teachers were coming.
Exactly. But
yeah.
PE was your first interaction with sport. And I can tell you, I've moved about different African countries. And in special schools, you find that, or even in mixed schools, whereby you have both kids with disability and without, the kids with disability are sitting and watching the bags while everyone is playing. It speaks a lot to the system, right? Do we have physical education curriculum for children with disability? Not really. Yes, but not really, you know. Are African Sports Acts covering disability sports system? Is there a pathway that if I start in school, then I can transition to a league to a club, you know, club to going international to... It's not really there. So that underrepresentation has a lot to do with systems than it has to do with lack of interest.
Right. So talk to someone who's really wondering, what is disability sports, or give us some examples of that.
So I'd say for every sport you can think about, almost every, correction, there is an equivalent disability sport. So if you think about tennis, you have wheelchair tennis. If you think about basketball, you have wheelchair basketball. If you think about football, which everyone say, we have blind football and we have amputee football, soccer football, depending on,
Oh, you call
so,
it.
if you think about any mainstream sport you can think about, there is a direct equivalent of disability sport. There are, however, specialized sports that are special for disability. We have boccia, goalball that is suited for people with visual impairment. So yes, just don't think about it as a type of sport. It's just sport, everyday sport, just suited to people of different needs and different abilities.
And I think we need to get to a point where we normalize it, and instead of just thinking about it as charity or sympathy, it's supposed to be part of just what is normal. What is the norm?
Yeah, I think biggest interest for me in stepping into consultancy was the fact that I did not enjoy, I'm coming from a development background. It's heavy on the NGO space and, you know, grants and doing things from a grant spaces. I don't dismiss it. That bit is great. But we need to think about disability sports like sport business, like every other sport business, you know, because it is sport business,
It really
if you think
is.
about it. And why I insist on it being seen as sport business, it allows for people to see the numbers, the opportunity, and to invest in it. If we continue to push it as a charity model, it's always the, I'm sad about this, you know, and never really the seeing it as like the performance, not just the performance, but the work it goes into to even make it to elite level Paralympics. It's a lot of work, just like any other athlete,
Exactly.
Yeah.
If you had like the opportunity to change maybe one policy in the system that we have in Africa around disability sports, what would that be for you?
One policy within disability sports. See, when I go to school, there's a list, at least for us who grew up, there was a list of you need to come with your sneakers, your bloomers at that time.
Oh my days, I don't know why we were wearing those things.
Those things that were part of our uniform.
Yeah.
I still insist that sport assistive technology and physical education must be, for children with disabilities, must just be a basic educational need. If you're going to speak as play as a right, as a human right, we need to supply what is needed for play to happen, which is like sports assistive technology. Unfortunately, people think you have your wheelchair, so you're good to go.
That's it.
Sport assistive technology is very different and very necessary for participation in the first place.
What do you mean by sports assistive technology?
So when people speak about assistive technology, you think about as simple as your glasses. It is assistive technology for someone who has visual
people who are
impairment.
wearing spectacles.
Yes. If you think about a wheelchair, it is assistive technology.
Right.
But it's not enough for you to participate in a sport. And I say this because you cannot take your heels and go to a tennis match, right? You change to your sneakers, same concept.
Right.
For me to go and play wheelchair tennis, I need a very specific wheelchair tennis. I need a very specific chair that is suited to wheelchair tennis, you know? If I'm an amputee, there's what we call running blades. Or maybe we're an athletic nation, so maybe let me speak to athletics. In athletics, we have different disciplines that are still athletics, but so you have VI athletics, visually impaired athletics, they run with a guide. You have wheelchair racing. There's the equivalent of just doing a sprint, but there's a specialized equipment for it. So this is what I mean by sports assistive technology. And so to change back to the question on policy,
Right.
for me, adaptive physical education would be part of the education curriculum. For any kid who's stepping into a school, regardless of ability, the different abilities you have, there should be equipment that is suited for them to have physical education. And on top of that, I would ensure that there is actually a physical education curriculum in our school systems because, believe it or not, there's no tangible physical education curriculum.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's PE. It actually is just not...
PE, you know, and it doesn't exist for special schools. Neither does it exist for mainstream schools that take in both kids with and without disabilities. So, I would change that policy.
And I think even from just a very young age that children just need to be taught that this is part of the curriculum. It's not only study.
Yeah.
Because I think sports just really helps a lot even with your mentals.
Absolutely.
With your performance in class.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay. So another question would be, who is actually responsible for this gap that we see in the systems, and like who would you be talking to? Is it the government? Is it the societies? Is it the federations?
I like to, when people speak about who's responsible, first taking ownership of things, going back to stigma that exists with people with disability.
Yeah.
I think people like to think about stigma as a very individual opinion thing, but it's a systems thing. You see, regardless of whether you are empathetic to disability or not, if policy states there must be a ramp in a public facility, you'll put that ramp. That ramp takes away the dependency aspect of someone who's a wheelchair user, for example. So when I speak about responsibility, it's not siloed to a single entity. Because if you think about it, it's our education ministry, it's our sports ministry. The fact that our Sports Act in Kenya does not have anything explicit on disability sports.
Oh, it doesn't?
There's nothing explicit on disability sports, you know.
That
it's
is
the education
unfortunate.
system. And when you speak about physical education, where is the clear policy on... because here's the thing about disability. it can happen to any one of us at any point in life.
That is true.
And because of aging, you do step into certain aspects of life that is considered a disability. So I wouldn't say it's a siloed ownership of who's responsible. Is it government? Is it the mere fact that you're in this space and the creator economy? If a creator is trying to put out content, you must realize that your content is going out to a population that includes persons with disability.
That is true.
Are creators trained in what I call inclusive language or disability etiquette language? Forget the language. Do creators understand that there's tech within our Instagrams and our TikToks that allow for better access for persons with disability? That's something that, and I don't think people do it out of malice. It's simply out of not knowing.
Right.
So I wouldn't say responsibility sits with a single siloed institution. I think it cuts across every industry, every entity, every space. It's a
shared responsibility,
if you ask me. Yeah.
And I think you've brought in a very good point, especially around creators, because these are things that we ignore, which we don't even realize that so many people who would have been listening to your content are actually shut off from listening to it because probably just didn't put that, is it called alt text?
Yeah.
That would help someone to actually,
closed caption.
That.
Ideally, stepping into a space like this, someone asks you, and who is Joy? Yes, you can say Joy is this, but you can imagine for someone who's visually impaired, you want to go the extra mile and say, this is my complexion, I'm wearing this is what my hair is. Because someone who's visually impaired is depending highly on that.
As much description
as possible to be able to have a connection with who they're listening to.
Right.
So even in all these events and conferences and people introduce themselves, it should be a norm to just be like,
be as descriptive
as possible. But that training is not there, I'd say. But it's just something that we should embrace as the norm. Like you said, 16% of the global population is persons with disability. So
right. Yeah. And that is a huge number.
It is.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Another point that you've just brought up that I felt we really need to talk about is just having this inclusivity in buildings, in gyms, in events, that we just don't even have like ramps or washrooms that are inclusive.
Yeah.
Like how has your experience been, especially working around with the PWDs?
So one thing about sports and is that, I have been in the elite point of sport and in the development point of sport, in the very grassroots.
What does the elite mean?
So elite is now your athlete who's competing at Paralympic level type thing. I've also been part of community level training teachers on adaptive physical education in Malawi. Reached a population of over 3,000 schools, right? Training the teachers. Having been in all these levels, I always say in sports, the power of it is, hey, listen, if you want to do it, this is what you need. And I feel like it's a quick advocacy tool. So, but you go to events, yes, and you have to carry athletes, because, for example, we did, there was the Youth Games for African Union Sports Council Region 5 that happened in Namibia. And for the first time, the games were inclusive. It was part of the project we worked on. And believe it or not, we're looking at zero accessible vehicle.
Oh.
And we're talking about, a country, not to call out a country or anything, right? But it's almost what is a norm, in terms of systems and accessibility. What you think is a norm is not really. Unfortunately, people think accessibility is a ramp.
Yeah.
And we leave it at that. So there's a ramp at the front of the door and good. Accessibility is more than that. Will I be able to come into your institution and find someone who is able to do sign language interpretation if I am deaf and hard of hearing? Am I able to come into your institution and, get a ramp and accessible washroom,
Right.
Because, yes, I'm in your building. So what happens if I need a washroom? And in the sports space, we do see a lot of this because of the system that runs. And it's a bit challenging because even public systems You know, it's not every day you're finding that person who's willing to carry you and,
Exactly.
you know, think about the Uber space, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Does Uber train the drivers into, you know.
Yeah.
And it's not getting on and off your public transport. Do I know how to dismantle a wheelchair if I have? Because it is a customer at the end of the day. And you might think it's not my responsibility. But when you start to speak about the purchasing power of persons with disability and the dollar value they bring, if I walk in here and I trip, you know, it's very easy for the staff to come and help me and do all that. So what happens if it's a wheel is stuck, you know, or I need to move, or I need to dismantle, I need to get into. So you see, it's really things as basic as that is accessibility. It's not just the facility, it's the knowledge behind it, I feel. Yeah.
And just outside Africa, like, how is the knowledge out there, like beyond Africa?
I think because some of these things are integrated into school systems and institutional policy and public policy that you must, more people adhere to it, you know, than you would out here. For example, you will not be able to host an event, a sporting event, if there are certain accessibility points that you haven't ticked, right? And there's just an adherence to that, I feel, out there. I mean, I've lived in different countries working in this space, right? And I feel it's more integrated. It's more integrated into the system and not a standalone thing, as opposed to when you step into the African space. So when we're giving out permits, for example, for having your building go up, out there it's a requirement that you have this and this done. Otherwise, it's very easy to, you know, be sued, for example, you know. But yeah. So I think the difference is policy and policy that people adhere to. Because, and I'll give a good example. I keep saying, it doesn't matter what your empathy is, right, for persons with disability. And it's great to change people's minds, right? We do want to change people's mind. But guess what? Whether my mind is changed or not, if it's a requirement for me to open an office, I require a ramp and I require an accessible bathroom for me to operate, I'll have it there, right?
Right.
So my sentiments are a non-factor in this whole math. You know, it ceases to be about what I feel and about what must be put in the system.
Exactly.
Yeah, to make it accessible for the majority population. Yeah.
I like that. And I think it's so important because I don't know if people who are building in Kenya really get to those points that they think about this that much. So it's interesting that I feel like if there are regulators listening to this, that this is something that needs to be incorporated in our systems. All right. I want to get to the side of the persons with who are differently abled. But before we get to that, I just want to appreciate each and every one of you who is still watching. There is so much we have to learn here. And I think that I'm learning so many things that we usually take for granted. And we're like, since it's not happening to me, I'm fine.
I'm good.
Exactly. It's not happening to my relative. I'm fine. Yeah. But you brought up a very important point of disability can happen to you even now.
Yeah.
And you need to think about that. So thank you so much, Sheila. So I just want to get to your experience working with the persons who are differently abled. How has it been just for you, especially that this is not so embraced here in Kenya? How has it been for you? How is their reception? What do you feel like they need so much out of disability sports?
So I have to say, I feel disadvantaged the fact that a lot of my work has been with entities that sit outside the Kenyan space. That's one thing that... Have I worked with the athletes with disability in Kenya? Yes, but not directly with. So maybe through the federations that, you know, you work with, or the International Paralympic Committee. And I wouldn't say it's necessarily what they need. I keep going back to systems, and I know I'm going to insist on systems and all that, but for me, it's as simple as when you fix the system, everything else is just taken up by the system. When you have the system, there's knowledge on disability sports that exist, that you can have your child. I keep insisting on children, please don't get me wrong, because disability is happening to everyone. But play, when you start at the point of play and systems that accommodate play, it's easy for you to roll out into wellness in general. I worked in elite sports for the longest time, right? When I pick up a racket, I'm not trying to meet Serena Williams at some point in my life. Believe me, it's not even a target, right?
Yeah.
But I'm able to do dirt biking and all this on a basis of participation. When we start to look at it from a wellness and how broad that market can be, we cease to see piecemeal type support, or we supported them to go for this competition.
That's it.
And we supported them with the flights and, entry fees to a competition. And we start to say, are our sports facilities accessible to accommodate the population in general, regardless of ability, right? Are our funding system into sports clubs and all that sufficient enough? Are a sports club accessible, When you start to look at it from a participation and not the elite, now they're going to another country to compete, you change the game. The reason why I say you change the game, it's a numbers thing, right? Think of running clubs. It's very hard to get a Kipchoge or a Faith. But it's very easy to get 50 people on a Saturday morning in a run club, for the fun of it. But think about that market. Those are 50 running shoes, 50 pairs of socks. 50 pairs of socks, the shorts, the tights, whatever we're wearing. It becomes a market that you're able to broaden. And I keep going back to disability sports. Let's not try to think about what we are giving them and think about making the system accessible enough to majority people who want to step into sport, either from an elite level or from a participation level. That changes the conversation. Because when you say, what do you guys need? It's very easy to go into a charity.
Yeah.
It's very easy for another politician to decide, this is my campaign strategy.
Right.
It's very easy to do the piecemeal. And I say, let's invest in the system and stop investing in tidbits of all that. Where does the system start? The policy framework we have in Kenya, the school system and physical education, the how are we importing manufacturing or developing sport assistive technology within the country? A racing chair is the same concept as a bicycle.
Right.
Why are we needing to import sport assistive technology? Believe it or not, we have running blades to the tune of $10,000, $15,000. We're going to these sporting events.
For a pair?
It depends if you're a double amputee or a single amputee.
Okay.
But a single blade could go to the tune of 10,000. If you go to bigger brands like the Autobok, you're looking at 10,000, 30,000, 40,000 for dollars, right?
Oh, wow.
But it's like necessity is the mother of invention. Why are we not stepping into that manufacturing of assistive technology? Because we haven't seen the numbers. But the numbers are not being represented because we have not been able to look at it from participation pathway, elite pathway, school system pathway. Then we're going to have innovators who step in and do affordable assistive technology. We have no business importing $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 sport chairs with all the technology that sits in Africa.
Right.
Think about the scrap metal space, There's just no need for all of that. And so for me, it's investing in the system. I go back to the system. And when you start to see the numbers, investment comes, investment innovation steps into it, that type of thing.
Speaking of manufacturing, do we even have any in Africa? Do we have one that does the assistive technology?
I would say distributors, not manufacturer. Of assistive technology, they are there. There are entities that are manufacturing assistive technology. Would I speak to whether they're being manufactured here? I'm not going to step into that. Of course, with the little that I know, I wouldn't say it's happening here, So what happens, we end up with what is called an AT graveyard, assistive technology graveyard. Because we are importing, it means a single bolt that we don't have the model for it. So you use a wheelchair, within time, the repair process, the maintenance process, it ends up as scrap eventually, because we don't have the companies that are manufacturing it here, repairing it here, and all that. So it just becomes another charity, import, donated, then ends up in a graveyard somewhere when you can't repair it and all that.
That is actually quite unfortunate.
It is, if you ask me, given the innovation we have, especially for a country like Kenya. I find it to be very discouraging.
Yeah, very discouraging. Again, guys, 16%, that is a huge number.
It is a huge number.
Right. So just for your experience working in these global institutions, how long were you outside there just working in the different institutions?
From 2014, 2015, I'd say. Since 2015, I've been out there, and I relocated back to Kenya in 2024. So I'd say 10 years, 9 years, thereabout.
10 years.
Yes.
What made you come back home?
I worked, like I said, I worked in the elite space, and I've been to Paris Paralympics, the Tokyo Paralympics.
Yeah.
I've been to Grand Prix, So this is you coming from Kenya, stepping into this place, and the medal opportunities, the podium finishes is not Africa. Yeah. And it's not Africa, and you ask yourself, okay, so what's going on? Because you're working in a system that the Paralympic movement and disability sport movement, Special Olympic movement, amazing movements if you ask me. But for a population that is maybe sitting with the majority, not being the most represented in this, I was like, okay, something's missing.
Yeah.
Something's missing.
Something big is missing.
Something big is missing. The other thing is, I worked in elite sports, right? I kept questioning, asking, does it mean every child who wants to get to disability sports wants to go to the elite level?
Yeah.
What happened to play? What happened to physical education? And that's why I went into training in Florida as an adaptive fitness trainer, because wellness is just your morning run, and so I am trained to take up persons with disability, whether neurological, physical, intellectual, for fitness and wellness. And if then you decide you want to go into a sport, then yeah. So two different things. The elite, the pathway for disability sport, I was struggling with the fact that it's very linear, elite sports. The other thing, I was like, so where's Africa in all this?
Exactly.
Something must be missing, We have university games that happen. Are they inclusive? No. We have national school games that are happening. Are they inclusive? No. So I just wanted to transfer that knowledge into systems, strategies, and policies to try and just invest into the very basic level of the pathway to getting that happening at the elite level, because it starts somewhere. So that's why I went into consultancy, in all honesty. Yeah. Because I worked on programs, different grant initiatives. I've handled UEFA money, Toyota Mobility Foundation money, created strategies, programs, managed programs. And it's always, the thing about a grant is I give you this year, I give you the second year. Is it enough to fund what is needed to have a very sustainable system set? Not really. But people invest in this space, federations, but they don't understand the space. I had the contextual knowledge. I'm African. I've lived here. I understand the system. So for me, it was more, I think I have the capacity to translate what people are trying to do out there on the continent. That's one. And I think I have the knowledge to help systems within Africa to step into disability sports. And that's my moving back and deciding to.
Yeah, that's amazing. You've mentioned Florida, Geneva, Germany. How many countries have you been to?
Lived or been to.
Okay. Because it's a different ballgame.
Two different topics. It could be transit, yeah?
What? Girl, at this point.
But yeah, I've lived in 5 different countries.
Ah, okay.
As a resident, actively. And I have traveled to A couple. I wouldn't say I have the number.
We have
but
196 countries, so you've done the
I don't
96.
think I've done. Maybe I'm at 10%, but we'll see.
10 is a good number.
Yeah, maybe I'm at 10%.
Yeah. So just coming back home, and you can understand that Africa's systems just tend to be slow. Like, what keeps you going for this mission?
I understand it's not an overnight thing. In all honesty, someone has to do it. It has to start somewhere. We can't all sit and say, the problem with our system
is not working. So
no one's doing this. But just the question is, and I don't believe, it's not like I'm the one who will now be the one. There's several people working in this space. I have to give it, disability organizations and all that. I think it's about just starting. Planting the seed. I worked with African Union Sports Council. They had youth games that were just mainstream and not inclusive. And as of now, I can comfortably say the African Union Sports Council Region 5 games, the youth games, happen every 2 years. Moving forward, will be inclusive and have disability sports within the mainstream program.
Oh, that is brilliant. Is one happening this year?
There is one happening this year in Maputo. Yes, the previous one was in Namibia. And I can comfortably say what started as hi, we need a strategy for this,
is actually being implemented.
It's a thing and being implemented. And now that is forcing them to speak to the member nations to have that in their school systems, in their national programs, because you need qualifiers to make it to the games, right? So it's not overnight, but for me, it's just the understanding that journey of 1,000 miles, it starts with one step.
Exactly.
So if just that one step. If I have 1-2 clients who are wheelchair users with different disability in the gym, and someone sees that, someone will step up and say, hey, listen, I have a child, I have a friend, my parent is a stroke survivor.
Yeah.
And so that's just keeps me going. It's gonna happen.
It will happen.
One day.
Yeah.
It will. But yeah.
And we're happy that we have these conversations and people like you who are actually, just pushing behind the scenes to ensure these things happen. So, again, receive your flowers.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
And if you're still watching, guys, I hope you're enjoying the episode and enjoying your Tusker cider alongside it, because you can get it at KE The Bar, and we'll attach the details below. So, Sheila Cleo, I want to get into you as an adaptive fitness trainer. So how does your day-to-day look like?
I have to say I have not stepped into it actively, right? Or started taking up clients. So I just completed the course last year in October. Yeah, October, November, thereabout.
So this is the year.
So yeah, and it's because I've done strategy development for entities. I've run programs, I've implemented programs, I've done grants, drawing up grants and proposals, and it was the need to now step into working one-on-one with people, the people relation. And sometimes impact when you're working on a strategy feels very far-fetched.
It does.
Because it becomes policy, government implements. But I think a one-on-one is very fulfilling, I would say. But necessary for me to say that, unfortunately, wellness for persons with disability is still sitting within the hospital connotation. Your physiotherapy for a child with CP, and all that is still sitting within the hospital connotation. There's nothing wrong with that. It is the authoritative institution that I feel beyond recovery and getting back into society, it needs to step into social spaces.
Right.
Because when I don't go to the gym for a week, my gym partner is texting me and like, hey, what's up? Where are you?
Yeah.
Now imagine that for a person with disability. I think I stick to one sentence. Participation is dignity. Just being there, and imagine you're a stroke survivor. You don't show up on Monday or on Tuesday. Someone's like, hey, what's up? Where were you yesterday? And that type of thing. I think we need to take away disability from
the medical
thought of it and step into the social spaces. a good example I give is a lot of people who wear glasses don't consider themselves persons with disability.
That is true.
Why is that? Because glasses are now seen as a fashion aesthetic. Assistive technology will step into social spaces and we stop seeing it as a medical aid, and start seeing it as like your sneakers.
Exactly.
And imagine a world where we're having a conversation about, oh, what blades are you wearing? Oh, it's an otobok, it's an otsur, I think normalizing requires changing the narrative, and that's a big part of why I went into adaptive fitness training. Yeah.
And you've brought up such an amazing point around we need to think about it from a wellness point. Like, how are they getting to check on their wellness? And it's not that the fact that they don't want to, it's just that they can't. Yeah.
I mean, if your gym doesn't have, if I don't ask our gym trainers, how many of them are trained to actually understand different disabilities and how to train with someone with different disabilities? Very few.
Yeah.
So I think these are the opportunities that sit, and I think it's not entirely just being a trainer for an individual. I'm able to do programs, right, for institutions. I'm also able to come in like vet a space in terms of accessibility audit and how you can improve, including the machinery in a gym. Or, because there's machinery that just need a small adjustment, and person with disability with different needs can use it. So it's not so much training an individual, it's also training personnel that can support that, or also institutions on audits and understanding what can you do to make your space more accessible and things like that. Yeah.
That is a very good point, actually. I want to ask you, what do you think is urgently needed, like right now, to make Africa get there? I know the systems need to change. I know we need to have these conversations more. But what do you think is urgently needed for us to just ensure that we're inclusive, even in our thought process, even in everything? As much as policies take time to be changed and systems may take time, what is an urgent need for us in Africa right now?
I think training capacity of people. Like I said, it's not a siloed thing. Training. If you ask me, I would, as a marketing agency, if I want to work with a creator, maybe it should be are you trained in disability etiquette? A basic ask, Maybe it should be, like people say, if you want to work with children, you need to do safeguarding. Maybe that's just a basic ask of our capacity education system, because once you're aware, then you look out for one thing. So it doesn't take Sheila Cleo coming to say, but then you don't have a ramp, you don't have this. It just becomes a standard ask, Right. Because as you're stepping into that public office, and you realize, you know what, maybe I need to do this. As you're giving your permits for construction, it becomes a necessary check. So I think it's just a very basic capacity building and training across all industry, if you ask me. Yeah. You want to train as a coach? Well, guess what? You want to train as a physical education teacher? Adaptive physical education should be part of teacher training colleges, I think that's just a lacking point of awareness with people, before systems, because people do make up the system. Yeah.
That's a very good point, actually. Just training, I think the awareness bit of it, and just the implementation of you where you're working, like in your company. How are you being inclusive? I think these are the days. The days are long gone of we're here for profit only. Yeah. We're supposed to be having all these systems in place just to ensure that we are accommodating the 16% population. Yeah. So I really like that. That is a very good point. I also want to ask you, just from your experience, do we have like a federation here in Kenya? I heard you mention Paris Paralympics. Do we have like a Nairobi Paralympics or something like that?
There is a Kenya Paralympic Committee. Okay. There's Special Olympics Kenya. So maybe just to clarify, Paralympics has a lot to do with physical disabilities. Special Olympics touches more on intellectual disabilities.
Okay.
And then we also have Deaf Olympics, which is for the deaf and hard of hearing. So they're there. There's DPOs, which are organizations for persons with disability, that cater to different needs, not necessarily sports, but if I'm to speak to the sports aspect, yes, is all this Kenya Paralympic Committee, Special Olympics Kenya, Deaf Olympics, they're all
You said
there.
intellectual disabilities as well.
Yes.
This is like in the learning space and...
No, actually, you can have a physical disability, which is the physical part of your anatomy, and an intellectual that has to do a lot with your intellectual part of your anatomy. And they fall within two different things, because in sports we have what we call classification. Ideally, I'd give an example. As a single arm amputee, for example, I have one of my arm amputated. You cannot have me competing with a double arm amputee because of the anatomy, balance, things. We can't just compete in the same competition. So we do have classification within sports. Even just to be a below elbow or above elbow, it just changes the entire, So that's why this classification into different, but just simplified, Paralympics has a lot to do with physical, and Special Olympics is intellectual, but we do have things like virtual sports that also caters to intellectual. So yeah, these organizations are there.
They're there.
In Kenya, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like that. And I didn't know about the classification, so it's good to know as well. And so for someone maybe who has just been listening and is wondering, how can I be part of this conversation? How can I support disability in sports? How can they get involved?
The sport business. Where does football make its money? The fans. How many people go out to watch these things? How many tournaments are happening? I do not like to complicate things in terms of, go support you. There are sports that you can, if I want to play a wheelchair doubles, I can have someone in a wheelchair, me as a standing athlete, and we play, in our clubs. But when you understand the business of sports, at the very top of the income point of sports is broadcast, right? And broadcast always meets a ready audience and fans and all that. So I don't want to complicate it to say, be innovators, and those are assistant things.
Yeah.
Watch the Paralympics. Let's build that fan base.
Contribute.
Yeah, fan base equals broadcast equals visibility equals innovation and investment going into that space. Right now, the winter Paralympics are happening. I mean, I know we don't.
Where is that happening?
Milano, Cortina. Yeah.
Where, Italy?
Italy is hosting at the moment. So I just be like, watch it. And guess what? There are sports within disability sports that I think are boring and I couldn't watch. You don't need to jump into the inspiration and empathy of it. It is a sport like any other. I can tell you there's sports I
It's the same way you'd watch baseball and be like, I'm not even understanding what is happening.
It's not now I'm watching but I'd say let's expand our...
Be curious.
Watch it, know what's happening, and qualifiers happening here and there. Know an athlete. The Kenyan athletes have brought a lot of gold from the Paralympics.
Right.
It's not public knowledge. Broadcasters who cover sports news, how many are even trained in the etiquette of covering all that? Change the lens. I think for me, it's amazing what can happen when you change the narrative and change the lens. Don't focus on, oh my God, look at this person.
Yeah.
Maybe focus on, watch it as a sport.
Exactly.
Just change the narrative, Yeah.
When are the Milano Paralympics happening?
So Milano is happening currently. That's the Winter Paralympics. So the next Paralympic Games are LA 2028. That's when it's happening. So we have Summer Games and Winter Games. So the next Summer Games will be LA 2028.
Okay.
Yeah, LA is hosting. Previous ones were in Paris. And currently the Winter. I wouldn't tell you much about the Winter Paralympics, and it's not a point of interest. I think that's just the business of sports.
You like this, you don't like this.
Yeah,
but I think that being curious,
just
understand how different sports actually operate. Yeah, I like that, and I'm really enjoying this conversation. And I know we're almost at the top of the hour. Kuna venye producer ananiangalia vibaya, But I would want us to cover this question. For someone who is listening, who has a disability or who has a loved one with a disability, like, what message would you want them to take away from this conversation?
There is spaces for wellness for this. Maybe not as developed, but for me, I always say the sports are there, right? But maybe just that's at a basic point of wellness. You know, never underestimate the power of a wheelchair in a room. And when I say a room, I don't mean a classroom. I mean, never underestimate the power of a wheelchair at a club and how much it normalizes that conversation, you know. Never underestimate that. And I keep saying necessity is the mother of invention. If I'm stepping into that space and there's a need for it, I'm a client. And one thing I always say, please understand the dollar value of your stepping out into these spaces, right? The dollar value, because when I have five people at a gym that I'm running that are wheelchair users, I'm going to have to think about, you know, that's whether, let's take on average, that's 5,000 membership fee, that's 35 grand. I'm going to think about that 35 grand.
Exactly.
I'm going to think about it and how I make sure that 35 grand is still coming in. But parents with children with disabilities, there is opportunities in the sports space, if you ask me. There's different disciplines that they can step into, not to become the next, you know, top name, but because players are right and the impact it has to the development of an individual. And so for me, it's just the opportunities are there. Maybe we don't speak much about it. We don't need to shy away and to, let's create that need for the system to change. I think it's a powerful advocacy, you know, rather than we could go with all the placards and all the and match the streets on you know, the International Day for Persons with Disability. But I think it's about stepping into these spaces where the conversations begin. Yeah.
And not just waiting for that day on a daily basis.
Yes.
That is such a powerful message. And I like that you talk to parents with children with disability, because sometimes you may not know that that sport is actually maybe what your child would need to get out of their shell. Yeah, so it's a really good angle of looking at it just more outside the medical aspect of it. Yeah. And are you open for clients yourself as an adaptive fitness trainer?
I am open for clients.
Okay.
In all honesty, I've just been building the business model behind it and trying to establish what that staffing process is going to be. Because it's, for example, for, say, children who are on the autism spectrum, you know, it's never a one-man show. You would not be able to do it. But in terms of creating and drawing out programs, even for caregivers, it's something that I can already do. It was just a matter of balancing the strategy program work that I do and working hands-on with individuals. But yes, we're also open to train people in the creator space on disability etiquette. So marketing agencies, if you need this training for creators you're working with, definitely. Broadcasting entities and just disability etiquette and how to cover, it's also something that's being offered. And one-on-one, definitely. I would say building the team in order to cater to as much people within the disability space. But yes, I'm open to build that program and link you up to a trainer, train your trainer. If you have a specific trainer, capacity building for a trainer who you're working with. So yes, it's something I'm open to.
Yeah, that is amazing. And I like how you talk to marketing agencies, by the way, because these days creators are out there a lot. Like, come on, please reach out to Sheila Cleo for this. We all need this education. Marketing agencies, broadcast agencies, everywhere, even these news rooms that we see, we need to have more of these conversations. So how can people find you?
So you can reach me. My email, sheilamogalo@gmail.com. I will
we'll
have
put it
there.
at the bottom.
But also just on socials as well. Just feel free. We are in the process of branding and building the platform with 360 Mass. So that will all be up at the moment, like the one-on-one. But please feel free to reach. I am a freelance consultant as well in this space. Government spaces, building policy framework. So yeah, open to all of that individually. Yes.
Yeah, I like that you mentioned government regulators. This needs to stop being an afterthought. This is a basic need, right?
Very basic need.
Yeah, so reach out to Sheila Cleo Mugalo, and we'll put her details here, all the details that you need, all your social medias, so that if you're looking for her, you can easily access her, because I feel like she has a plethora of experience, especially having worked outside Kenya. You have the global knowledge, you have the local knowledge. So it all marries very well. So thank you so much, Sheila Cleo.
Thank you so much.
You are amazing. You are a woman worth watching. You are doing excellent in that space.
Thank you.
And the fact that you wake up each and every day for a purpose to touch a life somewhere is so impactful, and you inspire so many of us. I am inspired.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. And if there is one thing that this conversation has actually made clear for me, is that inclusion cannot just remain a conversation. It has to become policy, it has to become design, and it has to become our everyday practice. So again, regulators, if you're listening to this, please build this in our systems, our schools, our sports systems, our cities, our public spaces. Again, the statistics are just sad to listen to, because 1 in 6 people, yet again, is living differently abled.
Yeah.
Right. So to anyone with disability also listening to this, your place in sport, wellness, and society is not a favor. It is your right. So I hope we can have more of these conversations. And if you're watching this and this conversation moved you, please share it, because, again, awareness is everything. We need to get this as much as possible out there. And Sheila, I think I would really love to sit down with some women who are actually in this disability sports. I think it would be quite a good conversation just to get their story.
Yeah, there are a couple. Really, female athletes within disability sports within Kenya. Not just athletes, there's also like people in the fitness and wellness space that are persons with disabilities. So yes,
we can get them on the podcast.
We can get them, talk to them from a lived experience. Sometimes I feel it's important to speak to people from a lived experience. So yes, happy to facilitate that.
I would love that. I would love that. I really want our space to be very intentional. And if we can give their stories to other people who would actually take them up and see how important this is, and make these policies become systems and become acts and incorporated in our laws.
About time.
It is about time that we do that. So looking forward to hearing about that. Sheila, just teach us something small. How do we describe ourselves? Maybe to a visually impaired person or a deaf person. How do we do it?
So just for visually impaired especially, just think about the very exterior that allows them to interact with you. So if I'm in front of a group of people, I just want to mention, hi, my name is Sheila Cleo. I am a woman of African descent. I am dark in complexion. I have locks on my hair. They're copper brown. I'm wearing a black dress, nude heels. And just very basic to give them a visual of who they are interacting with, so to say. Yeah, because for the visually impaired, they rely a lot on description, and it helps to interact with them. If you think about when working from home started, and cameras were off, and people were on Zoom, it's difficult, to have to speak to just voice and an empty space. So that's a very easy way of, laying a description. So maybe for your intro.
In fact, I want to try this.
I am your host. Go on.
All right. I am your host, Joy Mido, of African descent. I'm 5'7". I'm wearing black and yellow pants and some heels. And should I add that I'm a bubbly? Do you talk about your personality?
Description is more so the
Your
visual.
physical
So think about
appearance.
what people visually consume and translate that
Okay.
into, yeah.
I am Joy Mido, your host for the podcast. I am 5'7" tall, of African descent from Kenya. I have gold braids, braided hair. I am wearing black top and yellow pants and some heels.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
How did I do?
And that is very helpful.
Oh, good.
For an interaction.
I love that.
Yeah.
And I think that needs to be incorporated then in my podcasts.
That would be great.
I love that. Oh, thank you so much for teaching us that.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you're at home, just think about it. The next time that you're talking to someone who's visually impaired, be accommodative. Try that. It wasn't so hard, was it?
It's brief.
Yeah.
We're willing to talk about ourselves in a brief intro for 10 minutes.
And willing to put your details on a
Details,
it's
on
called
your
a
LinkedIn
profile, a Tinder profile.
Yeah.
So I mean,
yeah.
you can do that.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Sheila
you.
Cleo.
Thank you so much.
I have
Thanks
had
for
the
having
best
me.
time talking to you. I know we'll be interacting more because just personally, this podcast helps me to give a lot of people impact. And one thing that I live for is having a purpose on this earth. And part of the purpose is to help where I can. So I'm looking forward to see how we can collaborate and give this women, even men, more spaces to just be out there, get their stories heard. So feel free to reach out to me anytime
Thank you.
and bring anyone to the podcast. I'd always have a slot for them.
Sure. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
All right, guys. I have been your host, Joy Mido. Thank you so much for watching this podcast till this point. And if you've not contacted Sheila, remember, look for Sheila. You need all these gems and nuggets. Until we meet again, see you at the next episode.